multimedia project by Sophia, Amaya, Anna Claire, and Valerie. So our course standard is from second grade, which asks that we add and subtract within 100 using strategies based on place value, properties of operations, and the relationship between addition and subtraction. So our task 1, the question says, Lewis wants to give $15 to help kids who need school supplies. He also wants to buy a pair of shoes for $39. If Lewis gets $1 every day for his allowance, how many days will it take him to save enough money for both? Explain how you know. So we could set this problem up two different ways using a number line. So I'm going to draw that out. So we could either do starting at $15 and then skip counting by 10. So what we would do is break this number up, which would be 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9 ones. So that would look like 10, which is 25, plus another 10, which is 35, another 10, which is 45. So now we're at 30, and then we would need 9 more. So I'm going to make this line a little longer. And so we would add our ones. So 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. I might need to make it just a little bit longer. 51, 52, 53, and 54. So this would total out to 39. Our second option would be, instead of adding 15 plus 39, we'd add 39 plus 15. So that would look like, we're going to make another line graph here. And so instead we would start with 39. And then we'd break up the 15. So that would be 10 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So then we're going to add that 10, which is 49. And then we're going to add those ones. So 50, 51, 52, 53, and one more for 54. So those are two different ways to get to the answer of 54. So our solution would be that since he gets $1 every day, it will take him 54 days to save for both. So now let's move on to our preceding standard, which is from first grade. This says to add within 100 using concrete models or drawings, relate the strategy used to a written expression or equation, and be able to explain the reasoning. So first, our problem is 55 plus 36. So we're going to look at two different ways of thinking. We have Ford's thinking and Logan's thinking. So for Ford's thinking, he said that he counted by tens. So 10 plus 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And then he counted the ones. So let's rewrite our problem at the top. 45 plus 36. So Ford said that he counted by tens first. So we're going to do 40 plus 30, which is 70. That's how we got our 7 tens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then he counted the ones. So 5 plus 6, which equals 11. So then we're going to draw 11 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And when we total that up, we get 81. And Logan's thinking. So he said he broke 36 into 30 plus 1 plus 5. So we're going to write that. 30 plus 1 plus 5. That would get us our 36. He said, then I gave 5 from 36 to the 45 to make 50 because 50 is a friendly number. Then Logan said that he added 30 plus 50 to make 80. Then he added 1 to 80 to get 81. So we're going to draw this out. So he had 36 and he made that 30. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3. So there's our 30. And instead he added the 45 plus the 5 he borrowed from the 36. And that gave us 50. So now we're going to draw 5 more tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then he said he added just one more from the remainder of the 36. So that's our 1. And that also gives us 81. So now we're going to move on. For the questions, how did Ford solve the problem? Will his strategy always work? So his strategy will always work because you can represent numbers with place value blocks and then count them. So his method was simpler because he skip counted, and that would be the easiest way to look at it. Our question 2, how did Logan solve the problem? Will her strategy always work? So Logan's strategy depends on the particular numbers, but the strategy will often work. The only thing about Logan's strategy is it is a little more complex to consider, especially for a first grader, for them to be decomposing and reconstructing numbers as such, because if we look back, Logan broke these numbers up. She broke the 36 up and turned it into 30 by subtracting 5 and remembering to add 1 back in the end. So this would be a complex level of thinking for a first grader. So this is why her way would work oftentimes, but it is just a little more complex to think. How are their strategies similar or different? So this answer could vary, but their strategies are similar by the way that they use place value, but their strategies are different because Logan borrowed numbers and created new tens places, unlike Ford. How is your strategy similar or different than Ford's or Logan's? I would solve the problem like Ford did. I would skip count by 10 and then add the ones. I don't think that I would subtract and remember the problem like Logan did. So let's move on to 3. Our following standard is from 3rd grade, and it says using computational fluency, add and subtract within 1,000 using strategies and algorithms based on place value, properties of operations, and the relationship between addition and subtraction. So now let's take a look at task 3. The question is, your teacher was just awarded $1,000 to spend on materials for your classroom. She asked all 20 of her students in the class to help her decide how to spend the money. Think about which supplies will benefit the class the most. So for part A, we'll write down the different items and how many of each you would choose and find the total of each category. So here in this chart, we already have the cost per item and the number of items. So what we're going to do is multiply the cost per item times the number of items to get the total cost. So let's start. So we have 5 times 8, which is 40. 8 times 4, which is 32. 5 times 10, 5 times 2, that's 10, apologies. $40 times 1, which is still $40. 15 times 2 is $30, and 32 times 3, which is $96. So now let's move on to the books and maps. So we have $250 times 1, which is still $250. We have nothing here, so that'll be 0. 8 times 12, which is 96, and 45 times 1, which is just 45. Now let's move on to puzzles and games. We have 12 times 10, which is $120. 15 times 6, which is $90. And we have 0 here again, so that'll just be 0. And special items, we have 2 beanbag chairs for $65, which is a total of $130. And then we see here that there's nothing in this category, so that means that we will not be getting or adding any of this to our total. So let's total up the supplies. So we have 40 plus 32, which is 72. 10 and 40, which is 50. And 30 plus 96, which is 126. So if we add all those together, that would give us a total of $248. So now we will add up our books and maps. So we'll do $250 plus the 96 plus 45, and that'll get us for a total of $391. And then we'll total up our puzzles and games, and that'll be a total of $210. And then our special items, just $130. Supplies, we had a total of $248. For books and maps, we had a total of $391. And for puzzles and games, we had a total of $210. Special items, $130. So let's move on to part B. It says, create a bar graph to represent how you would spend the money. Scale the vertical axis by $100. Write out all the labels. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our bar graph. So we're going to scale out the axis by 100. So this will be 0. This will be 100, 200, 300, and 400. And this is all dollars, of course. So let's mark out what each category is. So our first category is supplies. Our second category, books and maps. Our third category is the puzzles. And then lastly, our special items. So for supplies, we had a total of $248. So this will put our graph right at a little bit under halfway between 200 and 300. For books and maps, we had 391, so that'll put us right below 400. So we'll go right here. And let's also write these quantities on top. 391, and supplies was 248. Then our puzzles and games is $210, so we'll put that right above that 200 line. And our special items was $130. And here's our graph. Part C says, what was the total cost of all of your choices, and did you have any money left over? If so, how much? So let's add up our quantities. We had 248 plus 391 plus 210 plus 130. This would all equal to $979. So if we subtract that from our $1,000 budget, that would leave us with $21 left over. So then it says to compare your choices with a partner. How much more or how much less did you choose to spend on each category than your partner? How much more or less did you choose to spend in total than your partner? So everyone's choices will vary. So this is why we include the part about asking your partner, just to see what your partner chooses, what they chose to spend the money on versus you. Did they want to go to the zoo? Did they want to have a class pet? This way you can just bounce ideas off of your classmates. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching.